Imagine what could happen if knowledgeable pro-family voters showed up in November. CitizenLink is working on a massive project to identify, inform, and motivate people like us in key states. You can help. Go to CitizenLink.com and click on the banner. The law is being changed in a way that threatens Christians with fines and jail time. This is the CitizenLink Report. I'm Stuart Shepard along with Bruce Hausknecht, who watches over the courts for Focus on the Family. Hi, Bruce.
Hi, Stuart.
I'm going to set this up first, and then we'll come back and chat with you. But first, I need everyone to just imagine yourselves in a particular situation here. I want you to put yourself in this context and experience this for yourselves. Imagine that you're an ordained minister. You and your wife have been operating a wedding chapel in the most beautiful part of Idaho for 25 years. The hitching post itself goes back decades before you took it over. World War II soldiers would come home and marry their sweethearts at this wedding chapel. They said there was a line out the front door of people waiting to get married back in the 40s. You run it as a Christian small business. The ceremonies are religious. You talk about God, you quote from the Bible, you give every couple a CD with sermons about marriage. And then the world around you changes. The city passes a so-called non-discrimination ordinance. The courts redefine marriage, and suddenly the government tells you that marriage is something other than the lifelong union of a man and woman. They say you will be fined or even sent to jail. You respectfully turn down a couple because they don't fit the timeless definition of marriage. And you discover that the non-discrimination ordinance actually discriminates against you. Well, Bruce, as you know, this is a true story. It is a precious couple in Idaho. It is Donald and Evelyn Knapp who run this wedding chapel, and they are facing jail time. Let's talk about this. My heart goes out to them. What happened to this precious couple?
Well, they were notified a few months back that if and when same-sex marriage ever came to Idaho, they constitute a public accommodation, which is a legal term meaning they're an establishment that's open to the public. And they perform weddings, and so they would have to, as a public accommodation, perform same-sex wedding ceremonies.
But they don't say that's a wedding. I mean, their belief, their Christian belief, their deeply held belief is that marriage is the union of a man and woman. The government's wrong.
And they are ordained within a denomination, an evangelical denomination that says you can't perform those types of weddings. That is not a wedding, a biblical version of a wedding. So they're stuck between a rock and a public accommodations law.
And the penalties are terrifying.
Well, yes. For each day that they refuse to perform a same-sex wedding ceremony, they can be fined $1,000 and get 180 days in jail. So you start adding
every day.
For every day. Think about that. You know, if they do 1 week of turning down refusals before they give in, they're going to spend 3 years in jail and suffer $7,000 in fines.
Potentially.
Potentially. And if you add that up for a year, not that gay activists wouldn't try to set this up by calling them every day for an entire year, but
yeah.
The penalties are just mind-blowing. It's more than the Idaho Criminal Code would give you for an assault and battery.
And this is an older couple. They're in their 60s. They've been doing this for 25 years. They can't spend the rest of their lives in jail because they believe that marriage is the union of a man and woman, can they?
No, of course not. And how would you like to be out of work in your late 60s because you refuse to make that choice between violating your biblical principles and having the city tell you that you can't have a business if you hold to those principles?
Now, the other side of this issue uses a term that's designed to deceive. It's a marketing term. They always say this is about marriage equality, but if you're the one who's facing fines and jail time, doesn't exactly look like things are equal when that happens.
No, and we're talking about a God-given, inalienable right to religious freedom, and it's been that way since the founding of the country. And suddenly we're seeing these public accommodations laws, non-discrimination laws, being used as hammers against Christians and their attempt to do business in the marketplace.
And no sign this is going to stop anytime soon.
It seems to be accelerating.
It's as if, Bruce, this was the goal all along of redefining marriage and putting these non-discrimination ordinances, I'll put that in quotes, into law. Was that the goal from the beginning?
I think it was. And that's simply because this agenda to force same-sex marriage is really an agenda to force the country to accept homosexual behavior, even if that goes contrary to your biblical beliefs. And they can only do that through the force of law.
All right. Now, the Alliance Defending Freedom filed a lawsuit against the city on behalf of the couple. They also asked for an injunction, which means they said don't let the penalties hit them while this is in court. Any chance they can win this?
I think there's a strong chance they can win this based on the First Amendment and based on the fact that Idaho has a Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which is the exact law that Hobby Lobby used to win at the Supreme Court earlier this year.
All right. Bruce, thanks for your insights. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
And thank you for watching. Remember to pray for Donald and Evelyn Knapp and all the other owners of wedding chapels in states that have changed the very definition of marriage. Pray for them as they try to maintain their Christian faith in light of a government that's telling them you have to betray your faith or else go to jail. That's a tough call. Pray for them that they would be able to sleep at night and that they would act with grace and with wisdom. We'd like to hear from you. You can always write to us at mail@citizenlink.com. And remember, stand tall and be heard.